what happens is this, the reason for affirmative action. Slaves came here about 1520. And from 1520 until, when, Lincoln freed the slaves, they had no property. They were property, okay? Then after that, even after that, then there became the Jim Crow laws that prevented them from gaining wealth, etc. But yet, what do they do? They worked in the cotton gyms, they fought in the wars, they helped to build things, etc. Helped to shape the country, but they didn't enjoy any of it. Even in Louisiana right now, many of our parents, our grandparents, were given property that has been stolen from them, and they can't, and we can't get it back because of ignorance, because we weren't even allowed to use the books to learn how to read, so people could take stuff from us because we didn't even know what we were signing. So the reason for affirmative action was created was try to, if at all possible, balance this 200 and 300 and 400 years of imbalance, to try to bring some kind of break down the disparity some kind of way. Just recently, the USA Today did a study, and it said that it's getting worse, the disparity, that African American middle class average $50,000 less in income than, African American upper class average $50,000 less than white middle class right now in income. Right now, this day. That's why affirmative action has been in place, and somewhat of an attempt to balance a 400 and 500 year disparity. Okay, so has that happened? Obviously not, because the gap is continuing to get wider and wider. Because if you start out with $1 million and I started with $1, how long do you think it's going to take for me to reach that $1 million? Because mine's going to earn the same interest as yours is earning, and you continue to grow, and I'm just going to have this dollar moping along in this Winnipeg while you moping along in a Cadillac. You follow me? So that was the purpose of affirmative action, to some kind of attempt. Now, they determined that every white person is not rich. So what did they do with affirmative action? What they have done is they have something called WBE, which women business owners, because women have been discriminated against. They have MBE, because it's not just blacks, minority. And they even have some attempt to help people that just simply do not have the income. Disadvantaged businesses, i.e. whites that are not rich and have been disadvantaged. You understand what I'm saying? So it's an attempt to bridge the gap for the disparity that was created as a result of the Constitution codifying slavery, codifying discrimination, and then having a United States Supreme Court in place that then passed things like Plessy v. Ferguson, Dred Scott decision. It said black men had no rights that the white man had to respect. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why they came up with the affirmative action in some kind of attempt to try to bridge that disparity within our country. So ran against three people who were all then elected officials. I had never been. I come from the private sector. I'd never been elected. And I was able to win in spite of. But then once you're in, then people start trying to target you, you know, and then you, of course there's history because of the things that occur, and people will not only target you, but then they'll actually create things. What I have found is, I don't care how well you do, people will then create lies, create things to try to trip you up. So it's not good enough for you to just do a good job. You have to also deal with the things that are going to be created on you. So what you have to do is just continue to do a good job and make sure that you're doing everything right, and all those things that they create, then you're able to combat because you know you haven't done anything wrong. So it's difficult. Some of these offices, like automatic offices, is very difficult to get elected to because you have what? Sometimes only about 1,300 people that vote in the whole ward. No, if you only have 1,300 people to vote in the whole ward, you only need 130 petition signatures next time. Most of these aldermen only need about 300 signatures to get on the last election. Yes. So, but it's difficult because that means that whoever the most organized is and have a little money and have the name recognition, they usually skate through, and so that's usually the incumbent. You know, unless they get targeted by the union or something, and that union gives one person some money enough to get out there to get to people. So it's difficult most of the time to get a new automatic office. The county-wide is difficult because we're dealing with the whole county. I think the city election is harder than county, though, because in the city you have a lot of interest groups, a lot more interest groups, and people attack you, you know, more even in the city than county-wide. So it's a difficult thing, don't get me wrong. It's difficult to get elected. It's difficult to stay elected as well. In this environment, I'm going to tell you all these different things that are happening. The internet is wonderful. I love it, but people are abusing it. People are abusing it, and they are, like I went out the other day, I'm not going to say who it is, but there's somebody running for office right now. They have actually created a negative entire web page on him. And when you search his name, this web page comes up first. So you go to that negative web page, and people think what's on the internet is true. And people think that these are legitimate media companies, you know. And I don't know why, but people think that what's in the newspaper is true. And most of the time, 90% of it is not true. It's just conjecture. And unfortunately, and hopefully you guys are not, don't do this, but sometimes media people will just let anybody tell them anything on you and write it without researching it or anything. So it's a difficult thing, but you can't be discouraged. You have to do it. If you have it in your heart to really help people, and that's why I got in this business in the first place. If you have it in your heart to really help people, to really make change, then you need to run for public office and get qualified and run and help us make some of this change.
Let's give it up for her.
All right, thank you. Thank you.